legislation that has defined his presidency. So drop the paddles. The Affordable Health Care Act is very much alive and well, and anything health care stock related is hotter than hot. Today, we dig into the fast and furious health care fallout with Republican presidential candidate Rick Santorum, who still hopes to repeal it. Democrat Chaka Fattah, who says just get over it. Ben Stein on what's become of the Supreme Court that decided it. Indiana Governor Mike Pence on how states are now going to have to deal with it. And first up, Republican Senator Ben Sasse on why he says he is not done fighting it. So, Senator, what are your options? What do you do?
Well, Neil, first of all, thanks for having me. I think the overarching headline of today is that the rule of law lost. I think what the Supreme Court said is they want to give the Congress an A for effort. You can just pass talking points now, apparently. You don't have to actually have coherent legislation. Administrations can just write and rewrite law. So that's bad news, but it's bigger than Obamacare. On Obamacare, I think one of the things that's going to happen, a tiny bit of silver lining, is voters are finally going to get the national conversation they deserve in the 2016 presidential election. Republicans need to be able to explain what we're for, not just what we're against.
So what do you do? In the next 18 months, you really can't do much, right? You have to just wait out 2016, pretty much.
In the next 18 months, obviously, this president is going to be committed to defending his law and trying to claim that it's effective when it's not effective. He's going to claim it's not driving up premiums when we know that it is.
Well, were you surprised that the court ruled to the degree it did, 6-3, including Justice Roberts writing the majority opinion?
I'm very surprised and disappointed in the ruling of the court. This is not what courts are supposed to do. They're supposed to call balls and strikes, not try to salvage laws based on politics. This is a day of judicial activism. But our presidential candidates next year, heading into next year, need to be able to articulate what they're for, what we want to replace Obamacare with that puts patients first and actually gives them more choices, not empowers bureaucrats. And part of the reason we got Obamacare was because Republicans tried to be for nothing when Democrats were for something. We need to be for more patient choices, and we need to have Republican presidential candidates that can go out and win that argument and win that battle of ideas.
All right, Senator, watch what happens. Thank you very, very much. Fair and balanced now. Democrats celebrating right now. Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Chaka Fattah, chief among them, says Republicans are just kind of wasting their time fighting this. Congressman, always good to have you. You just heard that fellow saying, look, we're going to make our case that this is ridiculous. You're saying what? Cease and desist, get over it, right?
Well, first of all, we're happy that the decision came down and that the suspense is over with. But if the Republicans want to come up with a replacement plan, they've only had 5 or 6 years to come up with one. Maybe they'll say that you can keep your young people on your policy to they're 26 if they're your children. Maybe they'll say in their plan that if you have a pre-existing condition, you can't be denied insurance. Maybe they'll say to the 9 million seniors who are saving on average $1,600 a year on their prescription purchases that the donut hole is closed. But this is the same Republican Party that had a president, had the majority in the House and Senate, and for the time that they were there, they said no to children's health care. They offered no affordable health care plan. And for all of the mumbling for the last 5 years, as you might take note from the last comment, they still haven't offered a plan
let me ask you this,
to replace Obamacare.
We preserve these subsidies, but someone's going to have to pay for those, right? Who will that be?
Well, they're paid for within the 4 corners of the bill. That is to say, the bill provides a certain number of revenue enhancers or taxes or fees, as you have talked about over the years, that it totally are paid for within the 4 corners of the Affordable Care Act. Now, there are people who are Democrats and Republicans who want to change some parts of the bill. I want to get rid of the medical device tax, right? That's one of the taxes. But it has to be replaced with some other revenue source.
But you're not obviously
right?
for it. Some of your Republican colleagues are just junking it. I could see that. And I wonder, I don't know what you think of this, is whether the justices, at least those 6 who voted to keep the subsidies the way they are, considered that in the decision that they made. In other words, that it would have been really disruptive to start tearing this thing apart, knocking these subsidies down, starting from scratch. Do you think that entered into the equation?
One of the things that the justices and your previous guest and I all agree on is you can't be something with nothing, right? That you can't have a system. People want to say it's only the people who bought policies during the exchange. No. Obamacare has changed health care for everybody. All of us now have the protections against pre-existing conditions and keeping our children on. It's not just the people who had to buy them.
But it should be no
exchanges.
surprise to you then that it should be no surprise to you that a lot of people who have insurance through work want to have seen their premiums go up because of all that coverage for pre-existing conditions, all of which are fine ideas, as you and I have discussed, Congressman. But the notion that you can get all of that extra coverage and like extra assurances and not pay more for it was unrealistic, right?
Well, that's why I love coming on your show, because it's a business show, right? And we know by what's happening in the market today, both that everything in healthcare saw a boost today, because this is good news for our country and for healthcare.
But that's not what I asked you. I asked you about the people who are paying premiums, and they will pay more.
I'm going to answer your question as.
Go ahead.
As I always answer your question, I will answer your question. We've seen costs go up, but we've seen them go up at the lowest amount in 50 years. So we see that there's a de-acceleration of healthcare costs.
Well, that doesn't include premiums.
Obamacare.
As you know, Congressman, that does not include healthcare premiums. They have not gone up at this level.
All I can tell you is that we've had an election that elected a president to get this done, and then he was reelected. And now the Supreme Court has been at bat twice. And the Republicans still haven't offered a replacement bill yet. But for 5 years, they've been coming on saying they want to repeal and replace.
Very fair comment. It's good seeing you again, Congressman.
And they control the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, I hear you. You're not hearing them. All right. Good seeing you, sir. Meanwhile, to the Congressman's point, healthcare stocks soaring on this news. Take a look at some of these guys. Jerry Willis, what the heck is going on as we look at these big run-ups?
All these companies feeding at the federal taxpayer trough. United, Anthem, Aetna, all these